Today on the first part of the morning show, we're talking about the River Valley Area Community Gardens. They'll be celebrating a 10th anniversary already. That's coming up this Sunday. And in the studio with us, Rose Ellen Schneider, who is the president, Doug Rouse, who is the vice president, and Marlon Taft's director in the studio. I look back, Rose Ellen, on the calendar, and you were here on March 11th, giving us a little taste of spring.
Yes.
Seems like only yesterday.
Only yesterday, and now we've got the taste of summer.
Yes, you do. How do things look in Spring Green?
Things are looking great. We've had plenty of rain, and the crops are growing, and so are the weeds. So we're harvesting both of them, so to speak. So yeah, it's been a wonderful year so far for us.
How about the number of people participating? How has that been this year?
Well, we're about the same number for plot rentals, so that's 45 families. We have a Busy Bees garden club for ages 3 through 10, and we had 30 kids this year with that. So that was up. Usually we average about 23, 24, so we're up to 30. And then we had 12 junior gardeners. So at one point I figured out between the families of all of those, we're touching the lives of about 175 to 200 people, which is amazing to have that many contacts with people and gardening. So
in your 10-year history, you've really touched the lives of a lot of folks, haven't you?
Oh yeah, I can't even imagine the numbers. I didn't even think about that, considering that. It's just it's so amazing to think about where we were back in May of 2016 when we first tilled that plot to where it is today. And I just posted on our Facebook page and our website last night a drone picture that Paul Kardasky had taken of the garden, and then he pans that into the village of Spring Green and takes a area view, and it's just amazing to see our plot sitting there and to see the village and then the fields around us. It's just amazing to see it.
Very nice setting.
Yeah, it is a very nice setting. Doug, how has the season gone for growing then?
Yeah, it's been a good season. We've had some pretty warm temperatures, but we've also had rain. So plants like rain, and we like rain because we don't have to water as much.
No doubt.
And admittedly, weeds like rain too, so that can be an issue. But overall, it's been a very good year. It's probably the best year we've had for some of our brassica crops, especially cabbage. We've, for the food pantry, taken out several hundred pounds of cabbage easily. And it's been a great year for cucumbers. I think in the past I've mentioned that, over the years of gardening, and there are things I have been able to feel quite good about growing and things that I still struggle with. I think I mentioned carrots once before. Another one is cucumbers, but this year is a great year for cucumbers, and I am so proud of the fact that we've grown some good cucumbers.
All the conditions are right then.
All the conditions are right, yeah.
Right.
And in addition, the things that usually do well, the summer squash and zucchinis are just going crazy. Hard to keep up. We have a pretty good sized pepper plot. Peppers can sometimes be a bit challenging, and we're getting some very nice peppers out, and in a fairly large quantity. We have a 50 by 16-foot plot of peppers, so if you think 50 feet long, that's a lot of peppers. So for the food pantry plots that we're handling as a corporate entity, the garden as a whole, we're doing very well. Potatoes, actually, kind of one of the things I like to grow. They're doing extremely well. We're running probably 250 bags of potatoes per acre on a per acre basis. We, of course, only have a few 100-foot a row, but still.
You've done well, though.
But we've done well, yeah. We've taken almost 200 pounds of potatoes out, so that's pretty good. So it's been pretty good. Onions, I'm quite happy with onions. Last year we had a real problem with onions rotting. And I think last year we had a lot of water early, and then it got hot and dry, and that was hard on the onions to make that switch. This year they're doing a lot better. I've got probably the nicest onions I've had in quite a few years. And overall, the garden, if you look at, again, our 45 families that are gardening, everybody seems to be doing pretty well. It's been a good year that way.
Well, you and I talked before we went on. There's some natural pests as well. We've had problems with those ugly little potato beetles. Have you seen very many of those?
Yes. So it has been a bad year, if you want to put it that way, for the insect pests. And Colorado potato beetles are definitely up this year, at least in our garden. And we struggle a little bit because conventionally, potatoes in the valley here are sprayed with insecticides, and that knocks them out pretty well. But we try not to use insecticides, and so we're somewhat limited. And the beetles have been really, really bad. Now, on the other hand, there's another potato pest, potato leafhoppers, that have been around but not quite as bad as in past years, which I don't know why.
I don't either.
It's like there's always something. I suppose if the beetles weren't bad this year, it would have been the leafhoppers. But
does that force you to harvest the potatoes a little sooner then when those come on?
Yes, as a matter of fact, definitely. Especially leafhoppers push the harvest earlier, but the beetles do too when they get to the point that they're actually chewing up all the leaves. The plants just die back a little earlier, and we have that in the garden. So we could have had even a bigger yield if we could have controlled them a little better.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like you've done well despite though.
But yes, we have. Overall, it's a very good year for sure. So, yeah.
As long as you're talking about pests, Doug, you showed the busy bees the other day the black head of cabbage.
Yes.
You want to talk about that a little bit? Because gardeners
Sure.
might be seeing that in their home gardens right now.
Yes, yeah. So there's actually a rather classic plant disease called black rot of cabbage. It actually affects all the brassicas, broccoli, cauliflower, kohlrabi, kale. And but in cabbage, it actually can attack the head, and it will cause this rot, which turns black. And you usually have a little bit of black rot around, usually just on leaves of broccoli or something. But this year we had a lot of it. And so even though we've taken more cabbage out than we've ever done before, and it was a very good year, we lost I would say maybe 10% of our cabbage was rotted with this black rot. And it's a bacterial disease. It doesn't harm humans directly in any way, but it's seed transmitted. So we think we may have just had some seed that had some of it in there, and then it spreads with rain and so forth. So, that was a bit of a surprise this year. I'm happy that it was only 10%.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah,
Can you make sauerkraut out of that then, or not?
Probably wouldn't want to make sauerkraut out of the stuff that was black. But we actually salvaged. There was some where the black rot was superficial, and we could actually remove it. So depending on how bad it is, you can get around it. But in general, it's a pretty devastating disease. Historically, before people understood that it was transmitted in the seed, people would plant infested seed and they'd lose their whole crop. It was a very serious disease many years ago. So, yeah.
One of the rewarding things about the River Valley Area Community Gardens is how you give back. And Marlon, we want to ask you a little bit about that. How it's got to be real rewarding to be able to help out the food pantry, isn't it?
Oh, very much so. And one thing we try to do is identify other entities where we can see there's a food need. So not only the food pantry, but the assisted living, memory care facilities. We've also identified child care providers and are making deliveries to some local child care facilities there that can utilize our stuff, as well as a free kiosk. So our real goal and real challenge is to make sure that none of the food that we produce gets wasted. You can have an overabundance, but if you don't have a place to market that or take that, it's kind of a wasted effort. So we try and make sure we can identify entities that will take the food so that we're using all our food on a weekly basis, which is something we've tried something different this year, where we're actually harvesting and distributing on a weekly basis right now because we have so much food production. So it's very rewarding to see that food go, not only the amounts we've been able to produce, but what we've been able to produce, we've been able to deliver to people with a limited amount of wastage, which is really the key that we're looking for.
Tell me about your volunteers.
Well, we got probably, I would say, 10 or 12 volunteers that will come either the Sunday before the Monday food distribution at the food pantry, or on a weekly basis now. We've been getting about 8 to 10 regular people coming in. So what used to be a tougher job when it was just 2 or 3 people has become a lot easier when you get, many hands make jobs easier. And in this case, we've had some good new volunteers come in, which makes the harvest much more easier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. With the amount of plots that we've planted and also the production we've had, it's been really important to have volunteers. And I'll just add that the volunteers, we have good volunteer help for harvest, and that's good because if you're going to harvest, 40 cabbage heads, and then you're going to do a bunch of peppers and then green beans, etc., it takes many hands. But we've also had really good help with weed control. And so we've got volunteers who are actually willing to come and pull weeds. And that's a wonderful thing as well.
You put them to work then, right?
Right. One thing that we've been able to do within the gardens this year, with the board expanding some of the plots in the areas that we already have, so areas that might have not been developed within the gardens, we've been able to utilize this year. And that's one reason we've been able to expand our production is maybe plots that have been abandoned for whatever reason. We've been able to utilize those, as well as plots within the gardens, new plots that we've developed within the garden itself. So that's helped our more in our production as well too. So that'll probably be on a year-to-year basis that we'll look at doing that. But in particular this year, with some of the funding that was cut for food programs, we found it to be very necessary, and that we've been able to, that was a challenge for us to try and put more food in those areas, and I think the gardeners themselves have rose to that challenge to produce more produce.
Mm-hmm. How did you get around that, Rosellen, in terms of trying to get more, knowing the funding was down? Did you, ask them to plant more, or how did that go then?
We just make them more aware.
I see.
But one of the things that we utilize is those on-planted plots. So if nobody rents them, then we can go ahead and plant those once we know that nobody wants them. The other thing that's happened too is that with the addition of our new shed a year ago, we were able to move the other shed around, and we've created another area for plots for the food pantry. And then there was another strip of land right in the middle of our garden that was initially designated for orchard, but the trees all died. And so we finally decided to go ahead and till that up, and that got planted. So there was extra land, quote unquote, that we found to develop. So that's what we used. I think if you be creative, as the years go by, we might find some more spaces that we can use and utilize. So one of the things I wanted to mention is that if you don't realize it yet, that need for food is rising. I have the numbers from the Community Food Pantry of Spring Green. In May, they served 176 families. In June, it jumped to 209. And then in July, we served 212, which wasn't a big number. But the big jump was from May to June. And we don't know what the effect is going to be down the road. The Arena Food Pantry closed for a couple of months, but they're now open again. So it'll be interesting to see if that number drops for the Community Food Pantry of Spring Green. But the Community Food Pantry of Spring Green serves the whole River Valley School District. So even if those people in Arena have their food pantry open again, they can also come and get food from us. So it'll be interesting to see now what the numbers do in August. But having the weekly distribution takes the place of a distribution that usually happened on the fourth Wednesday for the food pantry. And we wanted to make sure that those clients that usually picked up veggies on the fourth Wednesday had the opportunity to get good produce when they normally wouldn't have gotten it. So we foresaw, like Marlon was saying, the need that was coming up this year for food. So what we average, maybe 5-6 families from the food pantry every time we have a distribution. We go through Heather Chastain, and she notifies the clients at the food pantry, and then they show up at a designated time. So I think we've been very fortunate in that, and our foresight of going ahead and adding extra plots with veggies in them has really paid off, I think, for the community.
Yeah, it's worked out well. Marlon?
Yeah, I'd like to mention that I don't think Doug sees an empty plot that he wants to plant everything, and that's a good thing. He never met a plot he didn't like or want to plant, and that's been a good thing for us this year as well too. So
The plot thickens, then, in other words.
it does, very good, Phil. Very good.
The other question I have is, how do you deal with like the wascally wabbits that are around? Because they've been pretty thick here.
Boy, the rabbits have been terrible
They
this
have,
year, actually.
yeah.
Yes, we need more raptors or, I don't know, foxes or something.
Right.
But actually, we've trapped Marlon actually has trapped a number of rabbits in the garden. And I would say there's probably been an increase in interest by gardeners in putting fences or borders around their plots to try to keep rabbits out as well. So they are a problem without a doubt. Yeah, they've become quite an issue this summer in particular. And of course, so for example, our brassica plot, again, we had a lot of cabbage in there. We also had broccoli and cauliflower. And, the rabbits would ignore anything that managed to have survived a few weeks and was, getting bigger and growing. But if you put a fresh transplant in, a little seedling, they'd just go down a row and just take those. So
It's like a salad bar.
yeah, it was. Yeah, it was a bit of a problem there for a while. But once the plants get big enough, typically the rabbits can't, destroy them completely, at least.
Yes. So what are some special plans you have for the 10th anniversary, Rose Ellen?
Well, we have an all gardeners picnic scheduled, potluck picnic scheduled for Sunday, the 10th of August. And with that, at 4:30, we're going to recognize the Busy Bees completing their summer project. And then at 6 o'clock, we have an open house for the public. So we invite all the public to come and wander through the garden and ask questions and just see our new building, and which they helped finance. We couldn't have done that new building without their help. So we'll have some sweets and just time to visit and enjoy the gardens. See what's growing, see where our food pantry plots are, maybe interest more people in coming to garden, maybe interesting some people to volunteer, whether they're gardening out there or not. We can always use volunteers from the public, especially in the food pantry plots. That's basically where we're at. And just I don't know how the other gardeners feel. They haven't been at it as long as Doug and I. I think we're the last two. We were the original. Two of the originals, and we're still there yet. So I'm excited. I can't believe that it's been 10 years that garden has been going, and to see how it has grown over those 10 years is amazing. So
has it gone past like what you originally envisioned, Doug? I mean, is it bigger than you thought?
I would say that 10 years ago, there was absolutely no possibility in our minds that it would grow to the extent that it has. It's grown in several leaps, to the point that we've even been concerned at times about whether we need to grow more somehow, because the plots are getting rented, and we're up to 45 families, and it's just it's very impressive. And the idea of a 20 by 40 shed, none of those things were even remotely imagined 10 years ago. In fact, 10 years ago, we had no watering system to speak of. We had a tank that was on a tower that we had to fill periodically from a hydrant. We'd fill it, and then it would, gardeners would go to that tank and get water, or in some cases they could run a hose from it. But, it was very limited actually.
Very unreliable, too.
And unreliable.
It didn't go very far.
Yeah, it didn't go very far. And so now, we've got water to all the plots. We have, I think, a very nice system for water. Again, we've got a very nice shed. And our garden, I think, is unique in the number of resources it provides, in that a person could come to our garden, never having gardened, and other than paying for the plot rental, they could get the tools from our shed that we provide. They could get seeds even from us, and in some cases transplants in the spring. Rototilling could be done for them. We have fertilizer, we have mulch, we have compost, everything that they would need. I would encourage people who are not gardeners but have some interest in thinking about the community garden as a way to get into gardening, because we have all of the resources necessary, and we have a lot of expertise among our current gardeners. And I think we're a very friendly bunch. Yeah. And so you could be a complete stranger and come to the garden and see somebody and ask them about gardening, and I think without exception, you would get a very positive response.
You won't be a stranger long.
No, exactly.
No.
Exactly.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
That's what we're finding too, as people come. It's kind of a community. Some of my best friends I've gotten through the garden, just because of our mutual interest, and then you find out you have other interests, then that grows. I think that's true with other people that have come too, that they've developed new friendships. It's kind of like a family. You check on each other. If you hear that somebody's sick or been in the hospital, then you kind of check on them and make sure they're okay. And of course, then you've got a plot to keep an eye on too. But it's a community. And that's what community gardening is all about, is that camaraderie. Recipes are shared.
Yeah. Sure.
Plants are shared.
Yeah. Gardening expertise is shared.
Yeah.
It's fascinating how many different ways you can grow a cucumber, for example.
Oh, yeah, right.
Oh, yeah. Techniques are shared.
Yeah.
Different tools that other people use that you've never used. Advice. It's just, it's a welcoming thing.
Perfect. Marlon, when do things kind of wrap up? Because you can still put some things in the ground now that might grow before frost too, right?
Right. Doug's kind of leading that effort going into late summer and fall here, about what we can utilize for fall harvesting, as well as even over the winter as well too. So we're excited about doing that. That's something we really haven't done a lot of, but it's something we anticipate doing it later this summer, this fall, to do something different, to harvest more this fall and winter even.
Mm-hmm.
You get a lot of support from the community businesses, I'm sure, around River Valley, don't you?
Absolutely. They've been very forthcoming in utilizing machinery and tilling and things like that, where they've just donated their machinery or time to helping us out there, especially in the spring. When the ground needs to be worked up, and it's hard to do with a standard tiller sometimes. All that ground, it's been compacted over winter, so we're able to get local people and use their machinery to work up the ground and get us off to a good start for the spring growing season.
You'll be looking for the food pantry to continue, and some of the entities in Spring Green to get some of those items here over the course of the next few weeks, I'm sure. Way into the fall too, right?
Absolutely.
Good.
I'd like to give a shout out to the village board.
Oh, yeah.
Without them, we wouldn't be where we are, because back in 2016, when we were looking for a garden, all of a sudden we found this green space that they didn't realize they had, and they said, well, why don't you guys use that and we'll charge you $1 for that. And then they were so happy with what we did and how we progressed, and they've just been so very supportive of us. So thanks to the board of the Village of Spring Green for being there and supporting us, and I can't say enough about Robin Reed, the president, who every time I see her, she's just gushing about what we've done out there. And people on the street will stop me and say, you guys are an asset to our community. You don't realize that. And, we don't hear that, but people know we're there. And that makes a difference, too, to have that support. And the financial support that the people have given us through our brat fries that we've had, the plant sales that we used to have, the caramel apple sale at the school fair. Kids come up and they say, oh, you're here this year? Great. I come to the school fair just to get the caramel apples, So the things that the community does for us has been amazing. We find stuff left at the garden that we don't know where it came from, that's tools and things. It just comes from someplace, and we thought you'd like to use this, or we thought you could use this. We don't need it anymore. So the community has just been wonderful over these last 10 years, and we just can't thank them enough. So hats off to Spring Green for all your support. Without our community, we wouldn't have our shed. It took 4 years to raise the money, but we have a really great equipment shed now. So I hope everybody stops out on Sunday evening from 6 to 7:30 and sees what their donation of their brats has helped us to do. That would be wonderful, just to have people come out and see.
Yeah.
It would.
Yeah.
What do you see goals for the next 10 years, Doug?
Whoa, well, it'd be great to continue to expand. I wouldn't object to seeing, the number of gardeners grow to 50, 60 gardeners, 70 gardeners. There's a lot of people live in the valley here that are near Spring Green. It would be, of course, very nice to keep up our food pantry efforts. We're up to probably close to 4/10 of an acre this year in food pantry plots. It would be really exciting to see that expand to 6 or 7/10 of an acre, and then you could go from there.
Even more. Yeah.
That does require a lot of help from volunteers, and so I'm constantly cautioned not to overexpand without knowing that we have the help online to make it work. So I think the future is bright, actually, for us. And again, the community is so positive. I think we certainly can be nothing but hopeful for our future.
Perfect. Marlon, anything you want to add today?
Yeah, I think the fact that people, getting back to what Rose Ellen said, you can start out very small if you're a beginning gardener with a 10 by 10 plot, and sometimes people really get the fever of gardening, and they've grown from a 10 by 10 plot, which I did about 6 years ago, to 2 10 by 20. So it's a fun thing to see how people develop. Some people starting out like that maybe think that it didn't turn out the way I wanted, so maybe this isn't for me. But in a lot of cases, it really gets people going about producing their own food for their own needs, organically, I might add, and then producing extra food for people that can use it as well, too. So there's a lot of giving to themselves and giving outside of their families and stuff like that. So that's what's one of the most rewarding things to see. We hope to gain more younger gardeners and families as this thing continues to evolve, because as we see right now, a lot of the gardeners are senior members of the retirement thing, but we're getting more families involved, so we hope to see that continue.
No doubt about it. And I think a lot of it, we talked this week, and we're right in the middle of our cancer walk here in Richland Center, but a lot of prevention goes with healthy eating, Rose Ellen, and this is a great way to start, isn't it?
Right. We are organic garden. We condone is that the right word? We don't like people using the chemical fertilizers and all of that stuff. So that keeps that out of the foods. And the gardening that way is a lot healthier for the body. And boy, those foods that you grow in the garden that you can go out and pick yourself, they taste a lot better than what you buy in the grocery stores. So, and the grocery store stuff is usually, unless you're buying organic stuff in a grocery store, it's usually treated with something, if not grown with a lot of fertilizers and chemicals that are bad for you. So this is a great way to try to get healthy by doing your own gardening. And whether it's with us or whether you're doing bucket gardening at home or you carve out a 5x5 plot in your own lawn, whatever, just to get out there and start even having a little bit of locally grown food that you know what went on it is a lot more healthier than going to the grocery store and buying something. So I'll put a plug in for farmers markets too. They are wonderful, and you know that all that stuff is healthy food for you too. So don't forget those farmers markets. They play a role in our eating habits too. So
Most definitely.
yeah.
Well, congratulations, you guys, on 10 years.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
thank
I
you.
want to, again, extend that invitation for everybody out there, no matter whether you live in Spring Green, Arena, Lone Rock, or Plain, Richland Center, Dodgeville, Reedsburg, wherever you're listening from. If you want to stop down and just wander through our community garden, and we'd love to have you on Sunday night, the 10th, from 6 to 7:30. And if anybody wants any help on developing a community garden, holler. We'd give you some advice.
Okay. Maybe we can have you back on and kind of assess the whole season, but if not, we'll see you next March then, right?
Sounds
For
like
sure.
a plan, Phil.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Always good to see you guys.
Yep, thank you.
Rose Ellen Schneider, Doug Rouse, and Marlon Tafts from River Valley Area Community Gardens on this portion of the morning show.